Nebraska is in the news media headlines due to how it apportions its electoral college votes. Hey everybody, my name is Samuel Arms. I'm the political strategist for Cardone Digital Ventures. Today we're going to talk about Nebraska and potentially Maine, the way they apportion their electoral college votes, why it matters, why it could determine the outcome of the 2024 elections, and just overall the electoral college. So backing up, what is the Electoral College and how does it work? Well, basically the Electoral College is part of our republic with 538 votes, with any presidential candidate needing a majority or 270 of those votes to become president. Every state gets at least 3 Electoral College votes, 2 for its 2 senators and 1 for at least 1 congressional representative. And then every add-on has to do with the proportional amounts of congressional districts that that state has. Traditionally, America has a winner-take-all system. A lot of people don't like the fact that America has a two-party system, but a majority of the reason we have a two-party system actually has everything to do with the fact that we are a winner-take-all system. What does that mean? It means the person with the simple majority takes all the votes, which is why in America you can have someone win the popular vote, but also still win the Electoral College. It doesn't matter if you get 14 million more votes in the state of California, because no matter how many more votes you get than your opponent, you're going to get the same amount of electoral college votes. It doesn't matter if you get 49% of the votes in Florida. If your opponent gets 51%, you take all those electoral college votes. This actually refers to a law called Duverger's Law, which essentially says that any country or any political system that has a winner-take-all system is going to push toward a two-party system. So why does this matter and what does this have to do with Nebraska? Because traditionally our winner-take-all system means that we are not a pure democracy. It means that whoever wins the Electoral College, regardless of the majority of Americans and who they vote for, is going to be the president. But there are 2 states that have kind of bucked that trend. We have Maine, which started bucking the trend as early as 1972, and then we have Nebraska, which bucked the trend as early as 1992. So what gives them the authority to do this, and why did Maine and Nebraska take a different approach? Well, it is constitutional that states can actually decide the process in which their electoral college votes are determined. What that means is most states have determined in their constitutions that whoever, as far as the presidency goes, wins the majority of the votes in the state gets every electoral college vote. But Maine and Nebraska are both smaller states. And what this means is if you're a state that's, say, solidly red or solidly blue, you won't get as much as attention in the electoral college system as, say, a swing state, which would be Arizona, Pennsylvania, some of the blue wall states like Michigan, Wisconsin. But if, say, you wanted to attract more attention to your state, you could buck the winner-take-all system and simply kind of mess with the rules, which is what Maine and Nebraska have done. So what have Maine and Nebraska done? So the rules on their constitutions state that in the state of Maine, for example, whoever wins the most votes in the state of Maine gets at least 2 electoral votes. Then the following 2 congressional votes that they get due to their apportionment actually goes to whoever wins the most amount of votes in that congressional district. Nebraska is the same, but they have 3 congressional districts at this point in time, which means that there could be a situation where a Republican wins the plurality of the votes in the entire state, being, say, 2, and a Democrat wins maybe 2 congressional districts, meaning that Nebraska could have 3 votes for a Republican and 2 votes for a Democrat. The same goes for Maine. So why is this important? It's important because in our current very contentious presidential election, every electoral college vote is going to matter. You can look at some studies specifically by 538, by Nate Silver, where they go over a variety of different calculations in which there's multiple ways which the electoral college could actually end up being a tie. Which if it ends up being a tie, it then goes to the House of Representatives, which opens up a whole nother can of worms. But currently you're seeing a push in the state of Nebraska specifically by Republicans to overturn their 1992 law, apportioning their electoral college votes in their not so winner-take-all system, but in their kind of more apportioned democratic system, to go toward a winner-take-all system. You have people like Charlie Kirk with TPUSA currently advertising there now to try to get it so that Nebraska becomes a winner-take-all system, meaning that whoever wins the most votes in that state will get all their electoral votes. That's how thin the margins of error will be for the 2024 election. Currently, there are no efforts underway in Maine to do this, but we might see some efforts. Of course, it has to be during their legislative sessions, and Nebraska's legislative session, unless they call a special session, ends as early as April. What's interesting about this strategy is, for the most part, people with the weaker hand, with the weaker option, are normally the ones who like the different ways in which you can apportion votes in the Electoral College system. It used to be that Reince Priebus, who was the current RNC chair back in the day, when the blue wall states in the Midwest, which are like the Michigan and Wisconsins and Ohio's, traditionally went blue, Reince Priebus had the initiative to advocate for some of those states, which had red legislatures at the time, to change their Electoral College vote apportionments to, instead of a winner-take-all system, to much like Maine and Nebraska. That way, Republicans could actually pick up some of those Electoral College votes without having the majority of the people in the state voting for them. But that has since changed, obviously, now, since Trump was able to break through some of those blue wall states and change the electoral map permanently. So now you are seeing Republicans push again, but for the opposite reason, to get away from this more electoral democratic proportionment and go for a more broad winner-take-all strategy in states like Nebraska, because I think they are more scared of Trump not being able to win. One of the bigger questions to ask that should be on your mind is, how effective is the Electoral College system, and is it working as designed? Of course, America's democracy was never supposed to be a pure democracy, and there are people who are trying to use the current Electoral College system to make it a pure democracy, even if that was not how it is designed. There's currently a state voting compact, which has been signed by about 20 different states, that whoever wins the popular vote will get their Electoral College votes. If enough states sign on to that, that essentially means that all that matters is the amount of votes that you can get in the United States. It does away with the Electoral College representative system and will actually change the way that presidents kind of advertise in the country. Because currently, due to our Electoral College system and the winner-take-all system, presidents spend a lot of time in states that are up in the air, like Arizona, like Georgia, like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. But if you do away with that system, presidents would actually spend more time in some of the more populous states, like California, like Florida, like Texas, to ensure that they can get as many votes as possible in those states, because it's the popular vote that matters. And if they're able to get maximum amount of turnout via the popular vote by doubling down hard in states with high population centers, then according to this interstate compact, they would then win all of those electoral votes. So America's electoral system is very interesting, it's very complicated. You even saw people like Vladimir Putin commenting that they don't understand it. And there's a lot of reasons that people don't understand it, because it is complex, and there's a weird position between not only the federal government, but the state governments, and of course the giant parties like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. But one of the reasons that you should know that you are seeing so much jockeying, especially for power and even in small states like Nebraska, is because both political parties are concerned about not only their own political future, but the political future in the states in which they currently have strongholds. So it's in these political parties' interest to ensure that they pursue whatever strategy works for them at that current time. However, unfortunately, without enough foresight, the same rules that these parties are promoting today may end up coming back to bite them.